your average gym rat has some rip-off, generic, glorified caffeine water pre-workout, which is just garbo. Anatoly sits there before his workout. He sips his double espresso, and then he does his workout. On his leg days, he starts becoming a chemist. He starts mixing things together. Compounds he understands the dosages of and the sort of effects he's going to get from it. I'm actually pretty unusual, as my first pre-workout came very late in my game. As committed I was and as driven I was, pre-workout wasn't something I felt I had the ability to deserve yet. It was only after I'd properly learned how it worked and studied the effects and knew about what I was supposed to get, I decided to go out and find one. Off to Amazon I went, and I cross-reference with examine.com and cross-reference of the studies. I was trying to find the perfect dosages of compounds that actually do something. And time after time after time, I even made a video about it because it was so shocking. But time after time, everything I stumbled onto would do nothing. There was nothing on the UK market which was dosed properly. And when I say dosed properly, I don't mean like the best possible thing. I mean an efficacious dose, which is basically the minimum something needs to have to work. Not to be super effective, but to work. Like, imagine that. These pre-workouts didn't have enough of compounds they were adding in for it to actually work. Now, there are some supplements in the US which are fairly lucky because you guys have better competition over there. But Gorilla Mind, Echo Vision, I think those are the two, I don't know if I pronounced it right, but those two pretty perfect formulas to be honest. But let's do an exercise. Grab your pre-workout, look at the back, and we're going to go through this. So the first thing we're looking for is something called L-Citrulline. If this is here, that's cool. If it's below 8 grams per serving, we can count a double scoop as a serving, by the way, don't worry about that. If it's below 8 grams, even when it's double scooping, that's underdosed. Next, let's look for something called citrulline malate, which you might have instead of L-Citrulline. If that is below 8 grams, congratulations, it's underdosed. But it's citrulline malate. That's a different word, isn't it? Like, that's not citrulline, that's not L-Citrulline. Citrulline malate, we get citrulline, we get malic acid, you combine them together, which means we need more. So if there's less than 10 grams of citrulline malate, underdosed. Very sneaky way for people to underdose and save a quick buck by confusing people who don't understand how dosages work with different compounds. Next, try and find something called beta-alanine. This is also very, very common. If it's below 3.2 grams, it's underdosed. The last thing I guess we can look for is caffeine. And you're probably going to see something between 200 and 400 milligrams. Why? Because this thing you're drinking is caffeine water. That's all it is, caffeine water with some nice flavoring. And that's how they get you, because this caffeine will make a difference. You'll feel it. But you're here because you want to learn about pre-workout. And so I'm going to first humble you. Pre-workout might not be for you. Pre-workout is something you only take when everything is maximized. Your training, your diet, your recovery, your fatigue management, your sleep. If all this stuff isn't done properly, do you know what it's like? It's like having one durability leather armor and the netherite boots. And it's like going out and trying to find the perfect enchantments for your netherite boots. When what you should be doing is getting all netherite armor. Because right now, they run one durability, it's all leather. And you're going after the netherite boots and getting enchantments on that? Like, think about this. What's going to make more of a difference to your journey? Unfortunately, people see pre-workout as a necessary thing. And they also give it more power than it has. I won't lie, pre-workout is an incredible tool. It has potential to give us so much. But only at the end. Now, I want to do a bit of an experiment with you guys. I'm going to give you stages of things we can do at home to replicate a sort of pre-workout. Because we want to create our own. We don't want to start buying one when we can make something for cheaper and we can actually have it dosed properly. Like, what would be the point in that? So the first thing's going to be caffeine, because if all these things are glorified caffeine was, if we can just have caffeine, we're basically doing the same thing. And then everything that comes after the extra levels, it would just be spending a little bit more to get a little bit more. So, caffeine. We can probably just drink coffee. But what I would like you to do is I'd like you to get some caffeine tablets, because this is going to help you control this is going to help you control the amount you're getting, and so it's consistent. And another thing we're going to do, actually, which is super important, probably even more important than taking the caffeine, is every 3 weeks we're going to stop for 1 week. We're going to deload. Now, this isn't some belief where we're deloading for hypertrophy, or where we're taking a week off and we're doing less, because that is absolutely ridiculous, and that is not a part of hypertrophy training. That's part of powerlifting. We're not going down that road. We know better than that sort of thing, because there are no benefits to periodization if you're doing hypertrophy, and anyone tells you otherwise just is not up to literature. But we're going to deload, because we want to make sure that the caffeine keeps working. The way we do that is by stopping taking caffeine for a week. It's like it refreshes its ability. As a cool down, we can only use it for so long before it stops working. We build up an immunity to it almost. And actually, this is probably more important than that. With caffeine, you're not allowed this unless you take it before 9 hours of sleeping, and if it doesn't exceed 400 milligrams. Why would I say this? When we were talking about that analogy with the leather armor, your sleep can bring it up to diamond. And so if we're doing something which is getting in the way of our sleep just to make our boots have feather falling 5, do you really think that's going to benefit us in the long run? Do you really think that's going to make a difference compared to just getting better sleep? Like, no. Sleep is our lifeblood, and we need to keep that optimal. The next compound, an extra step. This is level 2, and this is something called L-Citrulline. We mentioned this before when you were analyzing your pre-workout, which is something we're going to actually chuck away now, because that is absolute that's rubbish. Now, L-Citrulline is something called a vasodilator, which basically means it improves blood flow. It makes your veins bigger, basically. And what this will help do is it will help with the cleanup, and it also help the pumps. You'll get a really nice pump. And the benefit here is we're able to push harder, we're able to last longer, and we're able to recover a bit better. Now, like I said, we're aiming for 8 grams minimum. And this is something where, now that we're actually putting powders into like a cup of water and mixing it, we're going to need this sort of flavoring, because otherwise it's going to taste disgusting. So we're going to add in a squash or anything really. You can have juice crystals. Kool-Aid works pretty well. We just want to give it something nice. And this is going to give us, honestly, some skin tearing pumps. It is a crazy compound, and it's pretty good. Level 3, the next thing, what could it be? Everyone's Nigella seeds, because this is going to be better than the previous thing, right? It's going to be better, but it's going to have less of an effect. Because, of course, I've stacked these in order of importance, and that's why the levels go up. Next thing is something called beta-alanine. Again, we mentioned this before. This is going to be 3.2 grams minimum. And beta-alanine is something which helps prevent the buildup of acid in your muscle. Acid is the thing that creates the burn. Acid is waste. We want to reduce that so we can push harder, we can get more out, and we can also recover better. Really great thing to take, and when you start taking it, you might be able to notice a similar effect to creatine, where you're just able to get extra reps out. Or when the burn does come, it's coming on those lengthened partials instead of before, and it could be possible that you're actually not able to reach failure because of the burn. I know, it takes some getting used to. Level 4, the next step, is something called L-Tyrosine, and I would do a gram of this. L-Tyrosine is something which helps produce more noradrenaline and dopamine, which basically means you're getting in that flow state. Literally, it's just you feel happier, you're more dialed in. Your phone, if it's on Do Not Disturb, it means you have 0 distractions, and you have no desire to check your phone. You have no desire to go on social media, take a look around, because everything is focused on the next step. You're just living in the moment. You're free from all external thoughts or external responsibilities, and you can be focused on this one thing. That is a beautiful, beautiful feeling. I hope you end up getting to level 4. We're going to mix these all in. Definitely not squash, because it will be disgusting. When I first started making this, I did not have any flavoring, and I would be like, trying to get it in. I would even put it in like a tiny cup and just mix it, and then like try and get it in, because when I was doing these big cups, I don't know why I did that, to be fair. I probably should have just stuck with like small portions, but that flexibility to craft your own pre-workout is magical. When I first started doing this, I was actually training awfully. I wasn't training to failure. I was overtraining. I did too many sets, too many exercises, and even then, it made an incredible difference. So imagine you guys, for the first time ever, taking a real pre-workout, which actually is going to make a difference, and you're doing it when you're training properly. Imagine what it's going to feel like to upgrade, to feel the power through your veins. It's going to be pretty cool. And I can't wait for you guys to have that experience.